Hey there, wild one. Have you ever read a headline and instantly felt angry? We're seeing a 10-second clip online and thought, this proves everything I already believed. That's not awareness. That's you flying up your ladder. Back in my corporate days, I trained leaders on how to manage conflict, navigate tough conversations, and build healthy culture. And here's the ironic part. The hardest rooms that I've ever navigated weren't boardrooms. They were kitchen tables, group text messages, comment sections, family holidays. The same tools that help executives avoid power struggles, they help you survive Thanksgiving. The same frameworks that keep teams from spiraling into blame, they keep marriages, friendships, and communities from falling into drama. So I'm dusting them off. Not to make you more corporate, to make you more conscious. I'm going to take practical leadership tools that I've learned and taught, and I want to use them where they matter the most. Inside our own reactions, inside our homes, inside these everyday moments that actually shape our lives. Let's build something better, starting with ourselves. Reclaim your rhythm. Rethink the rules. Rewrite your life. This is Wildly Intentional, the show where we question the scripts we've inherited and build a life, family, and legacy on purpose. If you're done living on autopilot, come with a curious mind and a courageous heart. Here, we talk about what it means to question, unlearn, create, and build what truly matters. I'm your host, Mandy, maverick mom of three, maker, family culture builder, lifelong question asker, and the friend people call when they're ready to rethink, well, everything. I'm here to shake the norms, tell the truth, and light the way forward. The ladder of inference describes the thinking process that we all go through, usually without realizing it, from an observation to action in seconds. It was introduced by Harvard professor Chris Egris to explain how we move from raw data to deeply held beliefs without realizing it. The thinking stages can be seen as rungs on a ladder. The higher that we climb on this ladder, the more meaning that we put on our story and the less grounded we become. We tend to interpret and climb these ladders very quickly. We must be careful not to do this because the top of the ladder is a bad place to be stuck. So let's go over what the rungs on the ladder are simplified. The very first rung is observation. It's what actually happened. External data, information, and experiences around you. The thing that happened. Then we go up to the filter. And this is what we're choosing to notice. We select or filter certain information and experiences that have been observed. Then we go up to meaning. And this is the story that we attach. We add our own meaning based on cultural or personal things that we know or have experienced. Then we move on up to assumptions. What we decide must be true. And these are based on things that we know. And then we hop up to beliefs. And this reinforces our worldview based on the meaning that we've added. And then we get up to conclusions. And this is our emotional reaction. We refine and update our beliefs about the world. And then finally, up to action. And it's what we say, post, or do. We take these actions based on our adopted beliefs. So I've linked to a TEDx video in the show notes that takes us through a simple parking lot example that I'm sure we can all relate to. But for today, I want to talk about something real. Something we see and experience daily. A breaking news story drops. A 12-second video clip spreads across social media, and you see a public official making a controversial comment, a protest interaction, a corporate decision affecting thousands. And you feel rage, vindication, fear, moral superiority. Here's what's happening. You didn't see the whole press conference. You didn't see the 3 minutes before the clip. You didn't see the policy context. You didn't see the data. You saw one slice. But your brain filters for what confirms your existing beliefs. It assigns meaning that's consistent with your worldview. It assumes intent, concludes motive, and takes action. Share, post, attack, accuse. And then we say things to each other like, how can you not care? This proves they're evil. If you disagree, you're part of the problem. Delete me right now if you don't think so too. That is not critical thinking. That's top of the ladder talking. And we're all doing it. You can see how this can create a vicious circle. Our beliefs have a big effect on how we selectively view reality, and it can lead us to ignore the true facts altogether. Soon, we are literally jumping to conclusions by missing the facts and skipping steps in our reasoning process. And all of these beliefs can affect how and what we choose to notice in the future. So what do? We need to identify our triggers. Because when our models get triggered, we react and we go through a different process methodology. We get a bit ungrounded and we make assumptions. And if we act on the wrong assumptions, we can get into trouble. So every interaction that happens, all parties go up their ladders. But your triggers will be different than other people's triggers will be. You may or may not know whether you're on your ladder or someone else is on theirs, or how far up and down you are. So being completely transparent as you converse and asking clarifying questions during an interaction will go a long way in managing us zooming and zipping up and down our ladders. So when we're aware of our mental models and someone challenges a deeply ingrained value or belief that we have, the opposition of your view can trigger you, causing you to quickly move up and down your ladder. So for example, and this is just a silly, soft example, okay? Someone could state they hate cats. That could really offend someone who owns and loves 10 cats, right? And that could push them up their ladder to believe the person who said it has no heart and they're very mean, when in reality, that person may have an allergic reaction to cats. Every day, we are bombarded with sensory information. Sensory memory filters out some of the most important information, and it keeps an impression of the most important items long enough for them to pass into our working memory. We all do this. Me too. Going up our ladders happens hundreds of times a day. Going up your ladder can be a personal and vulnerable thing to recognize and to share. So instead of climbing up our ladders, let's try descending. We need to ask ourselves questions like, what did I actually observe? What context might be missing? What assumptions am I making? What would someone who disagrees with me say? What else could be true? This doesn't mean abandoning your values. It means strengthening them through awareness. You can't live your life without adding meaning or drawing conclusions. It would be an inefficient, tedious way to live. But you can improve your communications through reflection by using the ladder of inference in 3 ways. Okay? 1, reflection. Recognize where you are on the ladder. Become more aware of your own thinking and reasoning. The second way, advocacy. Say what's on your mind. Make your thinking and reasoning more visible to others. And 3, inquiry. Get others' perspective. What is their thinking and reasoning? Learn to recognize when others are going up their ladder and know how to work them back down. Better yet, realize when what you are about to do potentially sends someone else up their ladder, and be prepared for the drawback. Reflect on what triggered both your ladder and theirs. Your thinking and expressing why you say and act the way that you do goes a long way to transparency and avoiding missed messages. If others say or act in a way that sends you racing up your ladder, you might want to inquire about why the thing that happened. Be the change that you want to see in the world. This tool is not meant for you to use to beat others up on how they're going around climbing up their ladders. It's a self-reflection tool. Make sure to look within first. What am I noticing? Why do I think this is happening? What do I think is happening? You cannot eliminate your ladder, but you can interrupt it. And the moment that you realize you're on rung 5 instead of rung 1, that's power. There was a version of me in my 20s that needed tools like this desperately. I have stood in rooms and facilitated rooms full of 40s and 50s and 60-year-olds who needed these tools just as much. But the truth is, most of us were never given this type of language. Imagine if we learned these things in middle school, how to question our assumptions, how to own our reactions, how to separate fact from story. How different would our friendships be? Our marriages, our politics. I thought emotional reactions were personality. I thought conflict meant that someone had to win. And I thought self-awareness was optional. It's not. Episodes like today's are about building the kind of self-awareness that makes you powerful without making you harsh. If you want to see more of this in the world, don't wait for a system to teach it. Share this. Talk about it. Practice it. Model it. The change begins with us. Until next time, Wild One, stay rooted, be brave, and live wildly intentional.